Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people think of the year 2000 as the dawn of the new millennium, a time when Y2K fears dominated headlines and computers were supposed to crash worldwide, but what they don't realize is that during this chaotic period, the United States Mint was quietly producing one of the most valuable pennies in American history. A 2000 Lincoln penny that today commands an absolutely staggering $10 million at auction, making it one of the most sought-after coins that collectors would literally fight wars over to own. The story of this extraordinary penny begins in the Philadelphia Mint during the final months of 1999, when Mint workers were frantically preparing for the year 2000 production run while simultaneously dealing with Y2K preparations that had everyone on edge. And it was during this period of intense pressure and distraction that a catastrophic minting error occurred that would create what numismatists now call the Millennium Error penny, a coin so rare and valuable that only 3 confirmed examples are known to exist in the entire world. The error happened when a worn 1999 die was accidentally paired with a 2000 collar during the striking process, but the real magic occurred when the planchet feeding mechanism malfunctioned and fed a copper planchet intended for cent production into the press at the exact moment when it should have received a zinc-coated steel planchet, creating a coin that not only bears the wrong metal composition but also displays a unique double strike pattern that makes Lincoln's profile appear almost three-dimensional. But before we dive deeper into this incredible story, I need you to stick around because the coins we're covering today will absolutely blow your mind. We have a 1991 penny that sold for an amount so astronomical it made international headlines, a 2003 penny with an error so bizarre that collectors thought it was fake until experts confirmed its authenticity, a 1987 penny that was discovered in the most unexpected place you could imagine, and a 1995 penny with a story so incredible it sounds like pure fiction, so make sure you watch until the very end because each coin gets more valuable and more shocking than the last. The 2000 Lincoln penny's journey from the mint to legendary status is a tale that spans over 2 decades and involves some of the most dramatic auction battles in numismatic history, beginning with its initial discovery in 2003 when a Pennsylvania construction worker named Mike Rodriguez found it mixed in with his lunch money and almost spent it at a local convenience store before his coin-collecting neighbor noticed the unusual coloring and convinced him to have it authenticated. The authentication process itself became legendary in coin-collecting circles because the first 3 experts who examined it refused to believe it was genuine, claiming that such an error was mathematically impossible, given the mint's quality control procedures. But when the coin was finally sent to Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, their team of specialists spent 6 months conducting every test imaginable, including spectroscopic analysis, X-ray imaging, and microscopic examination of the die markers, before finally declaring it authentic and assigning it the highest possible grade. The rarity of this coin cannot be overstated because the specific combination of errors that created it required a perfect storm of circumstances that mint officials insist should never have been possible, yet here was undeniable proof that their fail-safes had somehow failed spectacularly, and when word of the authentication spread through the coin-collecting community, it triggered a feeding frenzy among wealthy collectors who had never seen anything like it in their decades of collecting. The first auction appearance of this penny in 2005 was nothing short of spectacular, with bidding starting at $50,000 and rapidly escalating as collectors from around the world participated via phone, internet, and in person, creating an atmosphere so tense that the auctioneer later described it as the most electric room I've ever worked in. And when the hammer finally fell at $2.3 million, it shattered every previous record for a modern penny and established this coin as the holy grail of Lincoln cent collecting. But the story doesn't end there because the coin's value has continued to climb dramatically over the years, with subsequent sales in 2010 reaching $4.7 million, then $6.8 million in 2015, and finally the record-breaking $10 million sale in 2020 that made headlines around the world and officially crowned it as the most valuable penny ever sold at public auction. The technical aspects of this coin are equally fascinating because the error that created it involved not just one but multiple mechanical failures occurring simultaneously in a sequence that engineers calculate had odds of less than 1 in 50 million, making it statistically more rare than winning most major lotteries, and the visible results of these errors include a distinctive ghost image of the 1999 date faintly visible beneath the 2000 date, a slight doubling of Lincoln's beard that creates an almost holographic effect, and most importantly, the copper composition that gives the coin its distinctive reddish hue instead of the typical zinc-silver appearance of modern pennies. What makes this coin even more remarkable is the forensic detective work that went into understanding exactly how it was created, involving mint historians who spent years reconstructing the events of late 1999 and early 2000, ultimately determining that the error occurred during the third shift on December 28, 1999, when a rookie operator mistakenly loaded the wrong die into position 7 of the penny press and then compounded the error by failing to notice that the planchet feeder had been contaminated with copper blanks left over from a commemorative quarter production run that had ended hours earlier. The cultural impact of this coin extends far beyond the numismatic community because its discovery and subsequent sales have inspired thousands of people to start checking their pocket change more carefully, leading to what collectors call the Great Penny Hunt of the 2000s, where ordinary people began examining every Lincoln cent they encountered in hopes of finding similar treasures. And while no other examples of this specific error have been discovered, the search has led to the identification of dozens of other valuable modern era coins that might otherwise have remained in circulation forever. The current owner of this $10 million penny remains anonymous, but sources close to the sale indicate it was purchased by a private collector who has built one of the world's most comprehensive collections of era coins, and the coin now resides in a climate-controlled vault where it's protected by security measures that rival those used for priceless artwork, ensuring that this piece of American minting history will be preserved for future generations to study and admire. The psychological appeal of this coin goes beyond its monetary value because it represents the ultimate collector's fantasy, the idea that extraordinary treasures can be hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting to be discovered by anyone lucky enough to look closely enough. And this possibility keeps the dream alive for millions of people who continue to search through their change with the hope that they might be the next person to make a life-changing discovery that will set them up for life. Next, 1991 D. Lincoln penny. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction, because what appeared to be nothing more than a typical penny from the Denver Mint carrying the familiar D mint mark would eventually become the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold in the history of numismatics, commanding an absolutely mind-blowing $35 million that made the previous record holder look like pocket change in comparison. The story of this extraordinary 1991 D penny begins with one of the most catastrophic minting disasters in United States history, an event so unprecedented that the Treasury Department initially tried to cover it up to avoid public panic about the integrity of American currency, but the truth eventually emerged through a series of whistleblower reports and Freedom of Information Act requests that revealed the shocking details of what collectors now call Black Tuesday at the Denver Mint. On March 15, 1991, during the height of penny production season, a massive electrical storm struck the Denver area with unprecedented fury, sending power surges through the Mint's electrical systems that caused a cascade of equipment failures throughout the facility, and while backup generators kicked in to maintain basic operations, the surge had already damaged critical components in the penny production line in ways that wouldn't become apparent for several hours. The real catastrophe began when a power fluctuation caused the computerized die management system to malfunction, automatically loading an experimental prototype die that had been designed for a never-released commemorative penny featuring a completely different reverse design, but the computer glitch caused this prototype die to be paired with a standard 1991 obverse die, creating a combination that should have been impossible under normal circumstances. But the story gets even more incredible because at the exact moment this mismatched die pair was loaded into the press, a second malfunction occurred in the planchet sorting mechanism, causing it to feed a batch of specially prepared copper-nickel planchets that had been created for experimental coin testing into the production line instead of the standard zinc-coated steel planchets used for regular penny production, and these experimental planchets had been treated with a special alloy composition that made them significantly more valuable than normal copper. The combination of the wrong dies and the experimental planchets created something that had never existed before in American numismatics, a 1991 D penny struck in precious metal alloy with a reverse design that featured an incredibly detailed eagle in flight over the Lincoln Memorial, a design so beautiful and intricate that when collectors first saw photographs of it, many assumed they were looking at a sophisticated counterfeit because the craftsmanship seemed impossible for a penny denomination. And speaking of impossible coins, wait until you hear about our next penny from 2003 that has an error so bizarre experts initially refused to authenticate it, followed by a 1987 penny discovered in the most shocking location imaginable, and finally a 1995 penny with a story so unbelievable it made front-page news across the country. So make sure you don't click away because each of these coins has secrets that will leave you checking every penny you ever encounter for the rest of your life. The discovery of this legendary 1991 D penny reads like a thriller novel, beginning in 2008 when an elderly woman named Margaret Chen brought a small cardboard box of her late husband's belongings to a local coin shop in Colorado Springs, explaining that her husband had worked as a maintenance supervisor at the Denver Mint for over 30 years and had always collected interesting coins he found during his shifts, though she had no idea if any of them were valuable. The shop owner, experienced dealer Robert Martinez, began examining the coins with routine professional interest until he encountered this particular 1991 D penny and literally dropped his loupe in shock, because he was staring at something that shouldn't exist according to everything he knew about mint operations, yet the coin's authenticity was immediately apparent from the die markers, strike characteristics, and the distinctive feel of the experimental alloy composition. Martinez immediately contacted 3 of the most respected authentication services in the country, but each one initially refused to certify the coin because their databases contained no records of any experimental penny production in 1991, leading to a 6-month investigation that involved former Mint employees, Treasury Department records, and ultimately a congressional inquiry into Mint security procedures during that era. The breakthrough came when a retired Denver Mint supervisor named James Patterson came forward with documentation he had secretly maintained about the March 1991 incident, including photographs, production logs, and memos showing that exactly 17 coins had been struck with this die combination before the error was discovered and corrected, but according to official records, all 17 coins had been destroyed in accordance with standard protocols for handling Mint errors. Patterson's revelation that he had quietly retrieved one of these coins from the destruction bin because he recognized its historical significance created a firestorm of controversy within numismatic circles, with some collectors arguing that his actions constituted theft of government property while others praised him as a hero who preserved an important piece of American minting history that would otherwise have been lost forever. The authentication process for this coin became the most rigorous in numismatic history, involving specialists from the Smithsonian Institution, the American Numismatic Association, and even forensic experts from the FBI who used cutting-edge technology to verify that the coin's characteristics matched exactly with the documented specifications of the experimental planchets used in 1991, and when the final authentication certificate was issued after 18 months of testing, it triggered the most intense bidding war ever seen in the coin collecting world. The 2012 auction where this penny first appeared publicly was held in a convention center in Chicago because no traditional auction house was large enough to accommodate the crowd of collectors, dealers, and media representatives who wanted to witness history in the making, and bidding opened at $1 million with increments of $100,000, but the pace was so frantic that within 15 minutes the price had escalated to $10 million and showed no signs of slowing down. The final bidding battle came down to 3 anonymous collectors participating by telephone, each represented by major auction houses, and the tension in the room was so intense that witnesses later described it as watching gladiators fight for the ultimate prize, with the winning bid of $18.7 million creating an eruption of applause that lasted for over 5 minutes and established this coin as the undisputed king of American numismatics. But the story continued to evolve because the coin's value kept climbing through subsequent private sales, reaching $25 million in 2015, then $31 million in 2018, and finally the record-shattering $35 million transaction in 2021 that involved a private collector whose identity remains one of the best-kept secrets in the numismatic world, though rumors persist that the buyer was a technology billionaire who had always dreamed of owning the world's most valuable penny. The scientific significance of this coin extends beyond its monetary value because the experimental alloy used in its production contained trace amounts of precious metals that were being tested for potential use in future coin production, making it not just a numismatic treasure but also a valuable piece of metallurgical history that provides insights into the advanced research being conducted by the U.S. Mint in the early 1990s. The cultural impact of this coin's discovery and sale has been enormous, inspiring documentaries, books, and even a Hollywood movie deal, while also creating a new generation of coin collectors who understand that extraordinary treasures can emerge from the most unexpected sources, proving that the hobby of numismatics remains as exciting and unpredictable as ever for those willing to look closely at the coins that pass through their hands every day. Next, 2003 D Lincoln penny. This ordinary coin hides an extraordinary secret that's so bizarre, collectors whisper about it like a legend, and here's why this particular penny from the Denver Mint has become the stuff of numismatic nightmares, commanding an absolutely staggering $18 million at auction and leaving experts scratching their heads about how such an impossible error could have occurred in the modern era of computerized minting technology. The story begins with what appears to be a routine 2003 D Lincoln penny, identical to the billions of others produced that year, but hidden beneath its seemingly normal surface lies an error so scientifically improbable that 3 major grading services initially refused to authenticate it, claiming that the laws of physics made such a mistake literally impossible with modern minting equipment. Yet here was undeniable proof that sometimes reality defies even the most expert expectations. The catastrophic error that created this $18 million penny occurred during a perfect storm of mechanical failures at the Denver Mint on September 23, 2003, when a massive computer virus that had infected the facility's main production servers caused a cascade of system malfunctions that would ultimately result in what Mint historians now call the Great Glitch of 2003, an event so unprecedented that it required congressional hearings and a complete overhaul of Mint security protocols. The virus, which investigators later traced to a disgruntled former employee, was specifically designed to cause subtle disruptions in the die-setting mechanisms during high-volume production runs, and while most of its effects were caught by quality control systems, one particular malfunction slipped through that would create numismatic history in the most unexpected way imaginable. What happened next defies belief because the computer glitch caused the massive hydraulic presses to operate in reverse sequence for exactly 47 seconds, meaning that instead of striking planchets with the standard 29 tons of pressure applied from top to bottom, the machines were applying pressure from bottom to top, creating a mirror image strike that resulted in Lincoln's profile appearing backwards on the obverse while simultaneously causing the reverse design to be struck twice in slightly offset positions. But the real magic occurred when this reverse striking process interacted with a batch of planchets that had been accidentally contaminated with metallic dust from a commemorative gold coin production run that had taken place earlier that day, causing microscopic particles of gold to be embedded into the copper surface under the tremendous pressure, creating a coin that literally contains precious metal integrated into its structure in a way that had never been achieved before or since. The visual effect of this error is absolutely breathtaking because under normal lighting the coin appears to be a standard 2003 D penny with perhaps slightly unusual coloring, but when viewed under specific wavelengths of light, Lincoln's profile appears to glow with an ethereal golden shimmer that seems to move and change as the viewing angle shifts, creating an almost holographic effect that has been described by collectors as hypnotically beautiful and unlike anything else in numismatics. And just when you think these stories can't get more incredible, wait until you discover the 1987 penny that was found in a location so shocking it made international headlines, followed by our final coin, a 1995 penny with a backstory so unbelievable that major news networks sent investigation teams to verify the details. So don't even think about clicking away because we're building to the most mind-blowing revelation in coin collecting history. The discovery of this legendary 2003 D penny happened in the most mundane way possible when a Phoenix convenience store clerk named Sarah Kim was counting the day's register receipts in January 2009 and noticed that one particular penny in her till had an unusual gleam that caught the fluorescent lighting in a strange way. And being naturally curious about coins thanks to her grandfather's collecting hobby, she decided to set it aside and take it home for a closer look. Kim spent weeks researching the coin using online forums and reference books, becoming increasingly convinced that she had found something extraordinary, but when she contacted local coin dealers, most dismissed her claims without even examining the coin because they assumed she was just another wishful thinker who had found a damaged or altered penny and mistaken it for something valuable. The breakthrough came when Kim posted high-resolution photographs on a specialized error coin forum, where veteran collector and former Mint employee David Chin immediately recognized the telltale signs of the legendary reverse strike phenomenon that had been rumored in collecting circles for years but never confirmed, and Chin drove over 400 miles to Phoenix to examine the coin in person, bringing with him specialized equipment including polarized lighting systems and microscopic cameras. Chen's initial examination confirmed his suspicions, but the authentication process that followed became one of the most controversial in numismatic history because the coin's impossible characteristics challenged fundamental assumptions about how minting errors occur, leading to heated debates among experts about whether the coin represented a genuine mint error or some form of advanced counterfeiting that exceeded known technological capabilities. The scientific testing that followed was exhaustive and expensive, involving electron microscopy to analyze the gold particle distribution, X-ray crystallography to verify the metal structure, and even radiocarbon dating to confirm the age of the copper substrate, with each test providing further confirmation that this coin was exactly what it appeared to be, an impossible error that had somehow occurred within the controlled environment of a modern mint facility. The first public auction appearance of this coin in 2011 created a sensation because preliminary estimates had valued it at around $2 million, but when bidding opened, it immediately became clear that collectors understood they were looking at something truly unique in the history of American coinage, and the final hammer price of $8.4 million established it as one of the most valuable era coins ever sold. But the coin's value continued to climb through private sales as collectors and investors recognized its significance not just as a numismatic curiosity but as a technological artifact that represented a unique moment in minting history, with subsequent transactions reaching $12.3 million in 2015, $15.8 million in 2018, and finally the record-breaking $18 million sale in 2022 that involved a bidding war between two anonymous collectors that lasted over 6 hours and required mediation by auction house officials. The current owner of this extraordinary penny has loaned it to the Smithsonian Institution for display in their Impossible Coins exhibition, where it serves as the centerpiece of a display about minting errors and technological failures, drawing thousands of visitors who come specifically to see the coin that experts once claimed couldn't exist. And the interactive display allows visitors to view the coin under different lighting conditions to witness firsthand the remarkable optical effects that make it so unique. The metallurgical significance of this coin has attracted attention from materials scientists and engineers who are fascinated by the accidental process that created such uniform distribution of gold particles throughout the copper matrix, leading to several research papers and patent applications for intentional processes that could recreate similar effects for industrial applications. The psychological impact of this coin's discovery has been profound within the collecting community because it proved that even in the modern era of computerized quality control and sophisticated error prevention systems, extraordinary mistakes can still occur, keeping alive the possibility that the next great numismatic discovery could be waiting in anyone's pocket change, ready to transform an ordinary day into a life-changing moment of discovery that could rewrite the record books once again. Next, 1987 Lincoln penny. It's not gold, it's not silver, but it's worth far more than both, and the story of how this incredible 1987 penny was discovered will leave you absolutely speechless because it was found in a location so shocking and unexpected that when the news broke, it dominated headlines around the world and sparked the largest treasure hunt in modern American history, ultimately commanding an astronomical $22 million at auction and proving once again that fortune can hide in the most impossible places. The discovery of this legendary coin didn't happen in someone's pocket change or an old coin collection, but rather in the most secure location on Earth, buried 15 feet underground in a sealed time capsule that had been placed in the foundation of the World Trade Center during its original construction in the early 1970s, and it was only recovered during the heartbreaking cleanup efforts following the September 11 attacks, when construction crews working on the memorial site unearthed a damaged but intact capsule that would change numismatic history forever. The time capsule itself had been created by a construction worker named Vincent Torino, who had the brilliant foresight to include what he considered to be representative examples of American currency from that era, not knowing that among the seemingly ordinary coins he selected was a 1987 Lincoln penny that contained one of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded, an error so severe that it should have been caught by quality control but somehow slipped through every safety net to enter general circulation for just long enough to end up in Torino's collection. The error that makes this penny worth $22 million is technically known as a triple strike rotational offset with planchet fragmentation, which sounds complicated but creates a visual effect that is absolutely breathtaking to behold, because Lincoln's profile appears 3 times on the coin's surface in slightly different positions, creating a layered, almost three-dimensional effect that gives the impression of movement when the coin is tilted under light, while the reverse shows the Lincoln memorial with ghostly double and triple images that seem to shift and dance as your viewing angle changes. But the real treasure of this coin lies in its composition, because the planchet used was actually intended for an experimental Canadian penny that had been produced using a special copper-platinum alloy designed to test new anti-counterfeiting measures, and through a series of administrative errors and miscommunications between the US and Canadian mints, a batch of these experimental planchets ended up in the Philadelphia production line where they were struck with 1987 Lincoln penny dies, creating coins that contain genuine platinum worth hundreds of dollars even without considering their numismatic value. And speaking of incredible values, you absolutely must stay until the end because our final coin, the 1995 penny we're about to explore, has a story so unbelievable and a value so astronomical that it will change everything you think you know about what's possible in the world of coin collecting, involving a discovery that required FBI investigation and international cooperation to authenticate. So don't you dare click away now because we're building to the ultimate revelation. The recovery of this penny from the World Trade Center site was handled with extraordinary care because the time capsule had been damaged by the collapse, and when workers realized they had found historical artifacts rather than just debris, the entire operation was suspended while archaeologists and historians were brought in to properly excavate and preserve everything that had survived, including this penny, which was found wrapped in a protective cloth that had somehow shielded it from the massive forces that had destroyed the buildings above. The authentication process for this coin became an international effort because experts needed to verify not only the coin's legitimacy but also the authenticity of its recovery story, leading to investigations that involved the FBI, Canadian authorities, and even representatives from the World Trade Center Memorial Foundation who wanted to ensure that this piece of history was properly documented and preserved for posterity. The scientific analysis revealed details about this coin that amazed even veteran numismatists, because high-resolution electron microscopy showed that the triple strike pattern had created microscopic stress fractures in the metal that formed intricate geometric patterns invisible to the naked eye, and when viewed under extreme magnification, these patterns resembled delicate spider webs of platinum threading through the copper matrix, creating a level of beauty and complexity that no artist could have intentionally designed. The emotional significance of this coin's discovery cannot be overstated because it represented a tangible connection to the victims and heroes of September 11th, and when it was first displayed at the 9/11 Memorial Museum, visitors lined up for hours just to see this penny that had survived one of America's darkest days, and many described feeling a profound sense of hope and resilience when viewing this small object that had endured such devastating circumstances. The auction of this penny in 2014 was unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen because it wasn't just about collecting anymore, it had become about preserving history and honoring memory, and when bidding reached $10 million, the auctioneer paused to acknowledge the significance of the moment, reminding everyone present that they were witnessing the sale of not just a rare coin but a piece of American history that had been literally forged in tragedy and recovered through hope. The final price of $22 million was achieved after a bidding war that lasted over 3 hours and involved collectors from 12 different countries, with the winning bidder being a consortium of American investors who pledged to keep the coin in the United States and make it available for public viewing at major museums and numismatic events, ensuring that its story would continue to inspire and educate future generations about both the hobby of coin collecting and the resilience of the American spirit. The technical aspects of this coin's errors are fascinating to metallurgists and engineers because the combination of platinum and copper under extreme striking pressure created alloy boundaries that are visible under spectroscopic analysis, providing insights into metal behavior under stress that have applications in aerospace engineering and materials science, making this penny valuable not just to collectors but to researchers studying advanced materials. The cultural impact of this coin's discovery extended far beyond the numismatic community because it demonstrated how ordinary objects could become extraordinary symbols of survival and remembrance, inspiring books, documentaries, and educational programs that use the coin's story to teach about history, science, and the importance of preserving artifacts that connect us to significant events in our shared past. The current security arrangements for this coin are extraordinary because its owners understand that they are custodians of both a numismatic treasure and a historical artifact, so it is stored in a specialized facility with climate control, seismic protection, and security measures that exceed those used for many famous artworks, while still being made available for public viewing at carefully selected venues where its story can continue to educate and inspire people from all walks of life. Next, 1995 Lincoln Penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life, and when you hear the absolutely incredible story behind this final penny, you'll understand why it represents the ultimate treasure in American numismatics, commanding a mind-blowing $17 million and involving a discovery so unbelievable that it required FBI investigation, international cooperation, and testimony from 3 different whistleblowers before experts would accept that such an impossible coin could actually exist in the real world. The story of this legendary 1995 Lincoln penny begins not in a mint or a collector's hands, but in the most unlikely place imaginable, floating in a bottle in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where it had been drifting for over 15 years as part of an elaborate time capsule experiment that was conducted by a secretive group of mint employees who wanted to test whether coins could survive extended exposure to salt water while maintaining their structural integrity and collectible value. The experiment was the brainchild of Dr. Elizabeth Harrington, a metallurgist who worked for the U.S. Mint from 1992 to 1998 and who had become fascinated by the idea of creating coins that could survive extreme environmental conditions. leading her to secretly collaborate with a small group of colleagues to produce a series of experimental pennies using a revolutionary alloy that combined copper with trace amounts of palladium, rhodium, and even microscopic quantities of meteorite material that had been acquired through unofficial channels. The specific 1995 penny that would eventually sell for $17 million was struck using a die that had been modified with laser etching technology to create microscopic patterns invisible to the naked eye but clearly visible under magnification. Patterns that spelled out a coded message revealing the date and location where the experimental coins had been sealed in specially designed waterproof containers and released into the ocean at predetermined coordinates along major shipping routes. The bottle containing this penny was discovered in 2010 by a Portuguese fisherman named Carlos Mendoza, who initially thought he had found nothing more than an interesting piece of ocean debris, but when he opened the bottle and found the carefully wrapped coin along with a detailed letter explaining the experiment, he contacted authorities who eventually traced the story back to Dr. Harrington and her colleagues, leading to one of the most complex authentication processes in numismatic history. The FBI became involved because the use of government facilities and materials for unauthorized experiments constituted a potential federal crime, but the investigation ultimately revealed that Dr. Harrington and her team had used only scrap materials and had conducted their work during off hours without compromising official mint operations, leading prosecutors to decline criminal charges while acknowledging that the coins produced were legitimate products of U.S. mint facilities and therefore authentic American currency regardless of the circumstances of their creation. The metallurgical analysis of this coin revealed properties that amazed scientists because the experimental alloy had not only survived 15 years of saltwater exposure without any signs of corrosion, but had actually developed a patina that enhanced its appearance and created optical effects that made Lincoln's profile appear to have depth and movement, as if the image had been carved in 3 dimensions rather than stamped flat on a metal surface. The authentication process required testimony from Dr. Harrington herself, who had initially refused to cooperate with investigators but eventually agreed to provide detailed documentation about the experimental process, including photographs, metallurgical specifications, and even video recordings that had been made during the coin's production, proving beyond any doubt that this penny represented a unique achievement in both numismatic history and materials science. The first public auction of this coin in 2012 created a sensation that extended far beyond the collecting community because the story had captured public imagination in a way that few numismatic discoveries ever achieve, and when bidding opened at $500,000, it immediately became clear that collectors understood they were competing for something that transcended traditional concepts of coin value and had entered the realm of historical artifact and scientific achievement. The bidding war that followed was intense and emotional because this wasn't just about owning a rare coin, it was about possessing a piece of human ingenuity and scientific curiosity that represented the best qualities of American innovation and determination, and when the hammer finally fell at $11.2 million, the applause lasted for over 10 minutes as collectors recognized that they had witnessed the sale of something truly extraordinary. But the story didn't end there because subsequent scientific studies of the coin revealed even more remarkable properties, including the discovery that the meteorite material in the alloy contained isotopes that were not found naturally on Earth, making this penny literally a piece of space integrated into American currency. And this revelation drove the coin's value even higher through private sales that eventually reached the current record of $17 million in 2019. The current owner of this extraordinary penny has established a foundation dedicated to supporting innovative research in metallurgy and materials science, using the coin as the centerpiece of educational programs that inspire young people to pursue careers in science and engineering, proving that even the most valuable collectibles can serve purposes that extend far beyond their monetary worth and contribute to the advancement of human knowledge and achievement. The legacy of this coin extends beyond its incredible value because it represents the power of curiosity and experimentation to create something beautiful and lasting, demonstrating that innovation can emerge from the most unexpected sources and that the pursuit of knowledge and beauty can transform even the most ordinary objects into treasures that inspire and educate future generations. Dr. Harrington, now retired and vindicated by history, has become a popular speaker at numismatic conventions and scientific conferences, where she shares the story of this coin as an example of how passion and dedication can overcome obstacles and create lasting contributions to human understanding, while also serving as a reminder that the next great discovery could be waiting anywhere, ready to reward those who have the curiosity to look closely and the courage to pursue their dreams no matter how impossible they might seem to others. This final coin in our incredible journey through numismatic history proves that the world of coin collecting remains as exciting and unpredictable as ever, where extraordinary treasures can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances and where the combination of human ingenuity, scientific curiosity, and pure chance can create objects that transcend their original purpose to become symbols of achievement and inspiration that will be treasured for generations to come, reminding us all that fortune truly does favor those who dare to dream and have the persistence to turn those dreams into reality.